Welcome to United Network News, the official news channel for CARE, the Center for Amity and Restoration of Earth. I'm Sunny Galt. At UNN, you get the real news. Through our field messengers, we show you the truth about what's really taking place in our communities. We also bring you stories to help you remember who you are and why you're here, as well as regional stories that impact the people. And our World Situation Report reveals what's happening throughout the multiverse. We are here to restore Earth. In the U.S., it is Wednesday, March 27th, 2024. There's a special place in Zurich, Switzerland, where multiple roads, tracks, and people come together. And there's no official traffic system, no lights or stop signs, just very aware people. Can we expect more of this moving forward? Then we'll travel to the beautiful island of Ibiza in Spain, where a group of healers are gathered to support each other and detox their mind, body, and spirit. In the New Earth, we'll learn more about our incredible children and the power they possess. How do we nurture their gifts designed to help us restore our planet? We know helping others feels good, but there's actual science behind it. Learn more about the benefits of kindness.
This is Calen, messenger for United Network News. Here's a look at today's field messenger reports from all around the world. In Zurich, Switzerland, an innovative traffic system enables various modes of transportation to operate smoothly without the need for traffic lights. This system relies on the principle of mutual awareness among commuters to avoid accidents. UNN field messenger Jasira shows us this special traffic spot.
Hello, this is Jasira, field messenger for United Network News Earth here in Switzerland. Although I live in Thüringen, which is in Canton Bern, I travel around a lot, and today I wanted to show you this very special spot in Zurich. And it is right on the Limmat, which you can see next to me here. And you see a road there. You see a road there. See a road behind there. You see a lot of trucks, cars, trams, and if you notice, it is all without signals. We've got 1, 2, 3 up there, 5, 6, 7. Maybe it's a little role model of how we can also go into the new world. Sometimes we don't need any lights or regulations. We just need common sense and respect for one another. To our new Earth, into the chaos, out of the chaos. I wish everybody a happy day and bless us all. Ciao.
Next, we join a group of healers on their journey of healing on the beautiful island of Ibiza in Spain. They are supporting each other to detoxify their bodies, minds, and emotions. UNN field messenger Irene shares their inspiring story.
This is Irene reporting for UNN about our holistic healing trip to Ibiza. We are 4 healers and dreamers of Switzerland who decided to spend the winter month on Ibiza in order to detox holistically and support each other on each one's personal journey. It was like Ibiza had called us through synchronicity, maybe also for some earth healing task that needed to be done for the island and the world. We felt called to go there. We visit several locations like Esvedra, the cave of the goddess Tanit, as well as the very new monument called Time and Space. We indeed often make the experience of losing orientation in time and space. Yeah, that was fun. On our pathway and strolls, we keep sitting down, giving healing to the morphic fields and the subconscious mind of the island. We would like to share this wonderful experience with you guys because it feels so good to do self-care together, to share knowledge, to support each other with our different skills, and to celebrate life in togetherness and equality. Great knowledge supports us in order to detox the physical body with liver-supporting natural food, the right remedies, supplements, and sweating on long walks through the bush and stunning landscapes. So, dear friends, let's detox ourselves and the world at the same time. It can even be fun.
We want you to become a UNN field messenger. These are everyday people just like you who want to make a difference in their community. You don't need any special training or equipment. Just use the camera on your mobile phone and show us what's happening in your area. You send us your videos and our production team will create the report for you. Our new website is now up and running at unitednetwork.earth. You can submit your Field Messenger reports directly through the Field Messenger tab at the top of the page. You can also email your reports to our new email address, fieldmessenger@unitednetwork.earth.
Hey, I'm Kirsten from Switzerland.
This is Wayne from Tucson.
Hi, my name is Desmond from Ghana.
I am Claudia from Dawsonville, Georgia.
I'm Marty from Pretoria, South Africa.
Hi, I'm Steve McGrath, Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada.
People from all around the world are coming together.
Happy day, beautiful world. We are here in a rather small urban garden, and this video is just to show you the joys that we've had in this garden with the electric gardening.
When news happens in their area, they show us what's really going on.
We have people in the streets protesting for and against.
At United Network News, our field messengers are changing the face of news.
This is Field Messenger Helen reporting with nature, and I'm going to talk to you about the bees again.
Take the next step in restoring our planet. Become a UNN Field Messenger today.
Hi, I'm Stephanie from South Africa. If it's going to be, it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to me. It's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to all of us. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news.
What's happening on our planet right now has never happened before. We are all here to help, and we're not alone. Our children all have special gifts, and it's up to us as parents, grandparents, and caregivers to recognize those abilities and help them use them to restore our planet. Allison Ellsbury is a former occupational therapist who is here to assist babies and children to anchor their light on Earth while deepening their connection to nature and the divine. All right, so Allison is with us today. We're talking about our children's gifts. And Allison, I see this, I'm a mom, I've got 4 kids, various ages, and I see this in my own children. I see that they have got a little bit of a spark, they're a little bit different. I can tell that they're here to change the world. And as a parent, I want to nurture that. But a lot of times I don't really know what to do. I don't really know how to nurture. I'm still trying to figure out how to nurture myself. So what advice do you have for parents, as far as helping their children through this time?
Yeah, great question, because it's probably the biggest question I get asked the most. And my response is probably the most surprising or maybe even unexpected. And it's to really understand that all of us, no matter who we are on the planet, have gifts and abilities. And the children that are here and that are even yet to incarnate have these amazing gifts and abilities, these new frequencies of light. They're a whole new kind of human, and they have very different needs that want to be heard. in different ways, and their needs can sometimes leave us feeling like we're on our toes, just barely one step in front of them. And the best way to really nurture any gift or ability that your child is really expressing or showing is to make sure that they have a really healthy, solid connection and awareness to their body. So to nurture your child's gifts is to actually nurture the connection that they have with their body, because the body is the avenue for how those gifts get expressed in the world. And everything that we do and that we be and that we create happens through our physicality. It's that important. And so nurturing the connection to the body, having your children relate back to their body, understand that their gifts come through their body and flow through their body is really important. So that can look as simple as being out in nature every day, getting your feet on the earth, touching the trees, listening to the birds, really having quality, ample time to connect with nature. That's a great way to nurture the body, which is the gift, and to nurture the gifts in and of themselves.
And I feel like that's good advice for parents to take as well, not just for kids.
That's right, because you have gifts and abilities too. Yeah. And it's a win-win for everyone when we can really be more present and aware of the conscious connection with our own body. And being in Mother Nature, being in nature, connecting with the elements really amplifies that relationship and that connection. And for so many of the kids that are coming in, they have these heightened and elevated frequencies of light, and they need a safe place for those frequencies to be brought in. And that happens in and through the body. And when kids are connected to their body, they're connected to the earth, it feels much safer, more stable and grounded to actually anchor all of that in.
And I feel like this is naturally happening, like I'm talking now from a parent's perspective, because I'm trying to be more present and aware. Those are the things that I'm naturally gravitating more towards, living in that kind of lifestyle. And it's simply because I'm being open. It's not like a thought that I'm trying to put in my head or anything like that. But I feel like if we stay in that present feeling, that now feeling, that we're naturally going to go to these things that our body needs and our families need.
Absolutely. And that's how our gifts get expressed, because when we're feeling nourished and resourced and grounded, safe, secure, and we're creating safety for the body by being in nature and grounding, our gifts naturally flow in and out and get exchanged with everyone without us really having to give a lot of conscious thought to it, because that's the way we're actually naturally designed.
The education a child receives or doesn't receive can have a big impact on whether or not they embrace their spiritual gifts. Montessori schools are educational spaces that value individual growth and hands-on learning over traditional learning models. They are inspired by Dr. Maria Montessori's vision more than a century ago, focusing on a student-led learning approach. Key features include mixed-age classrooms that promote learning from peers and the freedom for children to pick activities that interest them. Teachers act more as guides rather than lecturers, promoting a self-directed learning environment. Children learn independence, gain confidence, and nurture their curiosity, making them eager learners rather than passive listeners. Montessori education doesn't just focus on academics. It equally prioritizes social and emotional skills development, aiming to nurture empathetic, emotionally intelligent individuals capable of deep interpersonal relationships. The increased popularity of Montessori schools worldwide reflects a growing interest in more personalized educational models. New generations are learning old world skills on social media, and the trend is growing. People around the world are acquiring real skills online as master craftsmen share their trade, expertise, and professionalism with their followers. Old world skills include such things as how to make shoes, craft a beautiful table out of wood, hunt an elk and prepare it for dinner, make delicious cheese, or how to make clothes from animal skins. These skills hold a wealth of knowledge that is vital to preserving cultural heritage and promoting sustainability. Developed over centuries of learning and experience, they represent a deep connection to our past. People are watching informational videos and acquiring the techniques and know-how from the masters of their art. By teaching these skills to others online, we help preserve the knowledge for future generations. Neuroscience has revealed performing acts of kindness could improve our health. Researchers have discovered that engaging in kindness triggers the chemical release of feel-good hormones in our bodies, including dopamine and oxytocin. In addition, acts of kindness actually decrease cortisol, the primary hormone that causes stress and anxiety. When we help others, we are actually creating new neural pathways dedicated to empathy and compassion. This helps us become more sensitive to the emotions of other people, deepening our relationships. By experiencing the chain reaction of feel-good hormones each time we help, we're training our brains to seek out more opportunities to be kind. This creates a cycle of healthy mental and emotional states. As human beings, we are wired to be social creatures, and helping others is a fundamental aspect of our nature. Practicing kindness and serving can lead to a healthier and more fulfilling life. We are United Network News. Every day, we release real stories from real people all over the world.
Skill Messenger reporting from Gold Coast, Australia,
Denmark,
Canada,
Uganda,
from Atlanta, in Southern California.
In their own words, people like you share what's really happening in their area. At UNN, you are the news. You are creating a new world with infinite possibilities. You are the restoration plan. Come join us for the real news every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, only on United Network. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news. Now, a look at regional stories around the world. A court in India has outlawed Muslim religious schools, impacting millions of students. Critics claim bias, but the government says they're protecting their citizens. A major bridge collapses in Baltimore, Maryland, after a container ship crashes into it. A search and rescue operation is currently underway. A new bill in Florida puts strict bans on children creating social media accounts. But it has also sparked a debate of parental rights and the First Amendment. And the cost of air travel in Australia is skyrocketing, and it all boils down to airport fees. Learn more about slot hoarding and how it impacts the fares you pay to fly. In Israel, a controversial proposal to enforce military conscription on the Haredi community is stirring significant unrest and division. The current exemption policy is allowing tens of thousands of ultra-Orthodox Jews to avoid military service to study religious texts. Critics argue this system is unfair as it places additional burdens on other citizens. The proposal has sparked widespread debate, with the Haredi leaders threatening mass emigration if forced into military service. Despite some ultra-Orthodox individuals voluntarily joining the military, opposition remains strong within their community, fearing it compromises their religious obligations. Government officials expressed concerns over the proposal's potential to fuel division and undermine military and societal cohesion. Iran's currency hit a new low, falling to 613,500 to the dollar amidst the Persian New Year celebrations. The decline worsened as demand for foreign currency surged during the two-week holidays when many Iranians seek to travel abroad. The situation was aggravated by the limited operation of exchange shops on the capital's main hub due to the holiday. The national inflation rate, reported to be more than 42%, further complicates the already dire living costs, pushing many to prioritize basic needs over political activism. The situation is further complicated by Iran's deteriorating relations with Western countries and its involvement in international conflicts, contributing to the nation's economic isolation and instability. The imposition of Western sanctions on Russian diamond imports has significantly disrupted the diamond trading industry. Traders are facing challenges due to requirements to verify the origins of diamonds, resulting in delays, increased costs, and dissatisfaction among consumers. The European Union and G7's restrictions aimed at preventing the trade of Russian diamonds require that all diamonds larger than 1 carat, and soon those more than 0.5 carat, entering the EU be verified in Antwerp, Belgium. This has complicated the process, extending the time it takes to transport diamonds from Africa from 48 hours to up to 2 weeks. Traders express frustration over the inefficiencies and financial losses caused by these new regulations. The industry shift has raised concerns about job losses in Antwerp's diamond cutting sector, leading some to consider relocation to countries like India or Dubai without such sanctions. In Uttar Pradesh, India, a recent court decision has outlawed Muslim religious schools in the state, impacting 2.7 million students across 25,000 institutions. The ruling revokes a law from 2004, citing a breach of constitutional secular principles, and has mandated the transfer of students to mainstream schools. This decision arrives amid tensions and accusations against the current government of promoting anti-Muslim sentiments. The move has sparked concerns amongst the Muslim community, particularly during the holy month of Ramadan, as it poses challenges to preserving their religious and educational practices. The government, while denying any bias against Muslim educational institutions, insists on the need for regulatory oversight against discriminatory practices and illegal funding. No timeline for the enforcement of the court's order has been provided, leaving the future of these schools uncertain. In Bangladesh's capital, the elderly face significant challenges in navigating the city due to its chaotic traffic and lack of accessible green spaces. The rapid urban expansion has disproportionately affected the city's older residents, who struggle with non-communicable diseases like diabetes, heart conditions, and asthma. The dense traffic and pollution have made it unsafe for them to engage in necessary physical activities, such as walking. Many of these residents have been relocated to the capital by their families for care, leaving behind their communities and facing isolation in a city that is increasingly inhospitable to their needs. Sidewalks, when they exist, are often uneven or obstructed, making mobility further difficult for the less mobile. The city's transformation over the years has also seen a significant reduction in green areas, compounding the challenges for its elderly population seeking safe and comfortable spaces outdoors. In the U.S., Visa and MasterCard have agreed to lower swipe fees by at least 4 basis points for the next 3 years and freeze fee increases for the next 5. The agreement is still pending approval from the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of New York. However, the National Retail Federation and the Retail Industry Leaders Association view this adjustment as minimal and insufficient, highlighting ongoing merchant and consumer concerns over high fees. Critics argue the settlement offers only minor relief, overlooking the broader demand for a competitive credit card market. Last summer saw the reintroduction of the Credit Card Competition Act, aimed at diversifying processing options beyond Visa and MasterCard. Despite the proposed settlement, many believe congressional action is still necessary to ensure fair play and competitiveness in the credit card interchange market. Early on Tuesday, Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed when a container ship, Dolly, crashed into one of its pylons. The accident occurred around 1:27 a.m. after the Dolly experienced a total power failure and struck the bridge, which you can see there. The incident resulted in the bridge crumbling, sending vehicles and a construction crew into the waters below. While 2 of the 8 workers have been rescued, 1 critically injured and 1 unharmed, 6 remain missing. The Dolly's crew, totaling 22 members, reported no injuries. The Maryland governor highlighted the absence of structural issues with the bridge and dismissed any speculation of terrorism. Authorities are now focusing on the search and rescue operation for the missing individuals and investigating the bridge's collapse to ensure such tragedy doesn't reoccur. Following the collapse of that bridge, port authorities have halted all maritime traffic, affecting at least 13 vessels scheduled for coal loading and several others, including container and cargo ships. Maersk, a leading container shipping company, announced the omission of Baltimore Port from their services due to safety concerns. This incident challenges exporters to decide between waiting for the waterway to reopen or rerouting exports to alternative ports, possibly increasing costs. Baltimore's port, a major hub for automotive, agricultural, and construction machinery exports, faces significant supply chain challenges. According to experts, this event adds to existing pressures on ocean freight services, which could have broader implications for international trade and supply chains. Florida's governor has signed a bill imposing one of the nation's strictest social media restrictions for minors, and it's set to take effect on January 1st, 2025. The new law mandates that children under 14 are banned from having social media accounts, while 14 and 15-year-olds will require parental consent. This initiative aims to protect younger individuals from the addictive nature of social media. The legislation, a compromise after a more stringent proposal was vetoed, has sparked a debate over parental rights and the First Amendment. Critics argue it could limit young people's access to online information and infringe on free speech rights, while proponents believe it is a necessary measure for child safety. The bill has seen bipartisan support, but also faces expected legal challenges, questioning its constitutionality and the impact on families' decision-making regarding social media use. In Argentina, citizens mark the anniversary of the country's last civil military dictatorship with mixed feelings amid recent political shifts that challenge decades of consensus on the historical narrative. The current government stance, depicting a period of state terror as an international armed conflict, and proposals to repurpose a key memory museum into schools, has ignited public debate. Human rights advocates warn this reinterpretation could threaten the foundational never again principle that has guided Argentinians' reconciliation efforts. For more than 40 years, Argentina has been recognized globally for its commitment to addressing past atrocities, distinguishing itself through rigorous investigations and the sentencing of former junta members. Amidst these tensions, protests erupted as community members, including those personally impacted by the dictatorship, vowed to continue their quest for truth and justice. The European Union's nature restoration law faces a setback as Hungary retracted its support, disrupting the once slim majority in favor. The law aims to mandate the restoration of nature across 20% of EU land and sea by 2030. However, it has been met with increasing resistance, partly fueled by widespread protests from the agricultural sector against strict EU environmental regulations. Farmers across Europe have voiced their concerns over the financial burdens imposed by such policies. The abandonment of this proposed law highlights the challenging balance, I should say, between environmental ambitions and economic realities faced by the European Union. Negotiations are set to continue, but the path forward remains uncertain as the bloc seeks to address concerns of its members and the broader community affected by these policies. The European Union's new deforestation rules are impacting coffee supply chains worldwide, creating challenges for small-scale farmers. These regulations, aiming to curb deforestation, demand comprehensive evidence that coffee production does not contribute to clearing forests. Millions of small-scale farmers in Vietnam and Ethiopia face dire challenges with these regulations, lacking the technology necessary to provide the required evidence of sustainable practices. Orders have already begun to decline as exporters struggle to adapt, with some considering redirecting their focus to other markets less stringent than the EU. Despite these challenges, nations like Brazil may find themselves at an advantage due to their organized supply chains and pre-existing sustainability certifications. The EU plans to assist these farmers through transitional support, yet concerns about the high costs and difficulties remain as the coffee industry braces for change. In Kenya's southeastern region, the completion of a sand dam after months of local community effort promises to ease the struggle for water among residents significantly. Previously, some locals had to travel up to 7 kilometers, which is 4.3 miles, to get water, consuming a whole day for what is a basic need. The new dam, expected to be operational by December of 2025, will reduce this daunting task to just a 10-minute walk. This development is crucial in a county where only a small fraction of households have access to clean piped water, facing a severe supply deficit. Sand dams, a solution for water storage in areas with seasonal rivers, are becoming increasingly important for sustaining local communities. They help conserve water during the dry seasons, support agriculture, and improve health conditions by providing cleaner water sources. A powerful 6.9 magnitude earthquake hit western Papua New Guinea, resulting in several deaths and the destruction of approximately 1,000 homes. The earthquake occurred early Sunday morning, impacting areas already struggling with widespread flooding. The disaster claimed at least 5 lives, with concerns that the death toll may rise as rescue operations continue. Local authorities have emphasized the urgent need for medical supplies, clean drinking water, and temporary shelter for the affected communities. This event adds to the challenges faced by the country, which is located within the seismic Ring of Fire, a region known for frequent earthquakes. In Northland, New Zealand, local communities and organizations face a severe housing crisis, leaving many in precarious living conditions. The lack of affordable housing has led to substandard living conditions, including damp, cold, and overcrowded homes, pushing some to live on the streets or in vehicles. This crisis impacts immediate health and well-being, with long-term effects like rheumatic heart disease, in children. Community groups are ramping up efforts to provide various housing solutions, from transitional housing to affordable rental units, and plans for building homes for working families struggling with property costs. Actions needed include easing government regulations for smaller, more affordable homes and boosting investments in community housing initiatives. Major Australian supermarkets, Woolworths and Coles, have been scrutinized for their increased data collection, particularly through their reward card programs. Consumers often unknowingly provide detailed data that allows these retail giants to create precise customer profiles, impacting not only privacy, but also the competitive landscape. This advantage enables Coles and Woolworths to target their marketing better and adjust their offerings. Consumer advocacy group Choice criticized the data sharing terms within the supermarket's loyalty programs, arguing such practices make it hard for smaller retailers to compete and for consumers to understand who has access to their personal information. Choice is advocating for stronger privacy protections and a review by the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission to address the implications of these data collection practices on the retail industry. The cost of air travel in Australia is under scrutiny, primarily due to concerns over airport fees affecting flight affordability. The Transport Minister highlighted the necessity for an aviation sector that delivers reliable, competitive, and affordable services, supported by a strong consumer rights framework. Amidst calls for regulatory changes, especially about the contentious issue of slot hoarding at Sydney Airport, passengers have been facing higher fares. Slot hoarding, where airlines retain flight slots without fully utilizing them, has been criticized for reducing competition and inflating prices, directly impacting consumers' pockets. The government aims to conduct audits and enforce reforms to curb these practices, ensuring more flight availability and lower prices for passengers.
Tired of being programmed? At United Network, you'll discover the truth about what's really happening on our planet. Get instant access to our written news, UNN newscasts, world situation reports, and in-depth stories from our field messengers. Manifest your amazing abilities as we explore the new Earth, plus original series to inspire and encourage you throughout your day. Get connected through United Chat, our personal chat room where you can join the conversation, share your experience, and also submit your questions for Kim. Watch United Network at home or on the go through your computer, favorite online streaming program, or mobile apps.
Welcome to United Network News.
Start your free trial today. UnitedNetwork.Earth, bringing people together.
And now, the World Situation Report with Kimberly Gogan from the Office of the Guardian. New Earth in the Golden Age brings gifts to humanity to ready us for full restoration of Earth and its inhabitants. And more inside information on world events as the deep state loses its grasp. Now here's Kimberly Gogan with the Office of the Guardian. Hi, Kim.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. How are you doing today?
I'm always busy, Yeah. Interesting times.
Well, I was going to say, can we touch on something that was in the news? I'm not sure if you have additional information on this. I wasn't able to check with you beforehand. But this bridge collapse in Baltimore kind of has a really weird feeling to it. Do you have any additional information on that?
When I looked into it, it was definitely pre-planned, obviously. There was enough people there to film it as it happened. That was interesting.
Yeah.
As most of these pre-planned events are. They did it at a time when there was few people crossing the bridge. If they had done it during a busier time, it would have been a bigger problem. And I'm not to say that we're not sad to see that there are a few people that were not recovered and that kind of thing. But honestly, other than possibly trying to create fear, talking about security, people afraid to cross bridges now. There's also talk about don't fly during the solar eclipse, these types of things. It seems to me it's more about fear, instilling fear in people and things that would affect their average everyday life. As far as it having an impact, like where they could blame the Chinese or the Russians or somebody, if that was the case and that was the plan, then I don't see that happening anywhere at all. It was definitely deliberate. And the only thing I can see is the creation of fear of, people might have now of traveling by car, by plane, by, and trying to self-impose lockdown almost, like they don't want to travel over the, are they going to go across the San Francisco Bridge now? Or are they going to go, the Golden Gate Bridge or somewhere? There's people that are probably going to think twice out there due to the accident. So I'm assuming that's why they're pushing it. Otherwise, I don't see a logical, even from a Dr. Evil standpoint, as to why I would do something like that. If I was the evil person an evil person in this world, how would this fit into my plan? Mm-hmm. You have to look at it from an enemy standpoint always. And much like everything else they're doing right now, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I haven't seen any chatter or anything surrounding it that would lead me to believe it's part of a bigger plan at this moment in time.
Do we know what even happened? We know that they can gain control of ships and, do different things with them. Do we think that they just cut the power to it and the ship had no control? Have you heard anything on the back chatter on that?
I haven't heard anything about it having no control. I haven't heard anything about it being remote controlled. I would think at this point, I haven't even had a chance to look into the actual company that owned the ship. I don't think it was being done in that way. I think it was an orchestrated event for sure. Were the people on the ship aware that this was happening? Yeah, I'm sure of it.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because in the media, they're saying that, they lost power or control that way. And I'm like, I don't know, unless, behind the scenes, they just cut the power to the ship and they couldn't control it at all or something like that. But yeah, and no one on the ship got hurt too, which I don't know what kind of impact. I would think that'd be a pretty big impact, but.
Well, it was predominantly a cargo ship, it was, so there's probably not a ton of crew on board anyway, and they're probably not at that end of the boat for the most part, or the ship for the most part, during its journey. But how you couldn't, in today's world, every flag would be flying. It would have started, it's kind of like, 18-wheeler trucks, large trucks, cars, even your car these days, if you have a newer vehicle, that when you're backing up, you've got the alarms that go off. If you get too close to something, you have the rear view thing in your car where you can see behind you, and it kind of draws these little lines and tells you how to back into your parking space or parallel park or whatever it is you're doing. And there are even vehicles out there that will hit the brakes automatically, if you get too close to the car in front of you, as an example. Now, if they do that with cars, imagine what they do with large 18-wheeler trucks and with ships of this nature, with aircraft, and those types of things. So I'm not buying that. I'm sorry, I'm just not. Not only that, there are backup systems in place should something like that happen. there's storms, there's all kinds of things that ships experience at sea. There's always some kind of a backup generator, backup system. I don't buy it. I don't buy that at all.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Yeah.
I don't buy the fact that it wouldn't have created some kind of an alert, a shutdown, a slamming on it's not brakes in a ship, obviously, but, slamming on of something to prevent it from hitting an object. I just can't buy that. No. I mean, knowing all the things that we know even about, regular vehicles that we drive every day, there's no way they wouldn't put on a multi-ton, machine some kind of safety precaution.
Sure.
So I'm sorry, not buying that in any way. So I definitely staged. For what reason? I don't see any indicator of anything at this moment in time that would make that make sense to me. Okay. Other than creating fear and people not wanting to cross a bridge anywhere in the world, due to the fact that could happen at any time. No way. Okay. It was pretty dark there, that at that time.
Yeah.
And it appears that, there's some pretty good lighting there in some of the videos that I saw, for it being so dark.
Yeah. Yeah. Just framed perfectly to catch the whole bridge collapse. It's amazing.
Yeah. Be interesting to see if any of our viewers live in that area, in the Maryland area, if they, can maybe, I don't know if they could get that close unless they've got a boat, but, what really happened there? I mean, I'm sure there was a bridge and it was damaged for sure. But does it make sense? Anybody who's an engineer, that can get near the situation, does that make sense to you? Mm-hmm. It simply doesn't make sense to me when I think about the amount of tons of water that flow there, how allegedly, slow the boat was going, the reinforcement needed for such a structure to exist in the first place with that much water coming at it. I mean, all of that comes into play with the materials and the stress tests on the materials before they even build a bridge like that. I'm sorry, all of this makes no sense to me. And
they also said that there were people working on the bridge at the time, repairing it. I thought that was awkward too. I know they like to do this stuff in the middle of the night or early in the morning, to not disrupt traffic. But yeah, there's just little things like that I'm like they were working, on the Twin Towers right before 9/11. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. So water, the force of water is tremendous. Mm-hmm. And that is accounted for when you build a bridge. The force of a ship going at that speed, it's not like it was going at, so many knots per hour or anything. I mean, it basically looked like from the videos, it glided gently into it. But what were the workers doing there? Did they compromise the integrity of the bridge so this would happen? Because I gotta say, it can't be the first ship to ever hit, a bridge in part, and then at that speed to have the whole thing fall apart. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions.
Yeah, the movie makers are very bad these days, and maybe this is an insurance claim, for the city or something like that, because people are running out of money, and that would bring in a decent amount of money. Speaking of decent amounts of money, the government is crying to their handlers that keep telling them just to wait until the eclipse, wait into this, and because they're not, same thing is happening in China too. China is also considering some type of event similar to this. I have heard that this morning, very early. They are also considering doing some kind of an insurance scam. When they're deep state, it's not a scam. But It's just one hand taking money from the other hand. But this is happening on every single level right now. So to see this as the only reason I could think that they would do something like this is for insurance purposes, some kind of claim. Hearing the same thing out of China, we all know China's kind of running U.S. politics right now. So but from behind the scenes, because they're the ones promising the money everywhere. I wouldn't doubt it. Maybe there's a correlation between those two things. Something I'll look into further. But I can definitely see them trying to take everything they can from insurance companies right now. Absolutely, 100%, even on a municipal level, even on a city level and a state level, because they are also going after their own. And what I mean by their own, they are talking about anyone that is worth more than $100 million. That is one criteria. And by going after, I'll explain how they're doing it. They're talking about rappers and stars and anybody that they are, I swear.
Well, no, I was talking with Mike earlier today. I'm like, what's going on with this Puff Daddy stuff? He's arrested. Whatever. They're accusing him of arms and drugs and trafficking, which we know they all do. But why are they eating their own right now? So you just said rappers. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, that's the Puff Daddy thing.
Yep. Word on the street was, rappers, large company owners, also gangs, drug dealers, these types of people. Now, is this guy, remember several years ago, I think it was back in 2000 or 2001, Puff Daddy actually had a book that went into Barnes & Noble for a very short period of time about adrenochrome. It was an ebook. Do you not remember this?
No. When was this?
Oh, gosh. I think it was the end of 2000.
Okay. That might have been right as I was waking up. I didn't hear about that.
Yeah. It was an ebook. It really didn't say much. It was about, I think it was like $80 to $100 or something for this short little ebook that started talking about adrenochrome. It was a threat by him to the deep state, allegedly, to expose them all. He actually, in part, not in totality, but in part, really kind of made it mainstream. Yeah, it was all over the news with Barnes & Noble and those kinds of things. So there's no doubt that, he would be one of their targets to take out. And it's all about taking all their money. Really, it is at this point. And it's the same thing with all these Trump lawsuits. Not to say that he didn't do all those things, because I'm sure he did. But, when have you ever seen, even in the largest corporate cases in history, in history, have you ever seen someone have to pay $175 million in a bail bond?
No.
Does that even exist? Never. I've never, go, if you're watching this and you've seen somebody actually have to pay a bond of that amount, not a settlement in a lawsuit, not like, it was, I think it was Marlboro cigarettes in a class action lawsuit or something, not the settlement. I'm talking about just a bail bond. They're trying to pull money out of everyone everywhere, and they set the criteria. Now, here in the United States, this is worldwide, by the way. This is not just a U.S. thing. And here in the United States, they're using the U.S. Marshal Services to do it, because the U.S. Marshals, you have air marshals, and then you also have the land marshals. And several months back, I did report to you that anybody with a certain amount of money could get a U.S. Marshal's badge. And they were giving U.S. Marshal badges to foreigners, to CIA agents, allowing them to operate on U.S. soil and all of the things they're not supposed to do. So that is going full force right now. And they're issuing arrest warrants left and right with fictitious computer-generated images. This guy was here at this time, that kind of thing. It's also in part a little bit of a rebellion against the members of the, let's call them the anti-silent circle, the ones that run all the mafia organizations, drug dealers, and worldwide. Now, I find this kind of funny because, there are deals that are in place, and I know this for a fact, and have been for decades, between the U.S. Marshals, the Texas Rangers, the DEA here in the States, and everybody knows and everybody gets paid on all the drugs and everything else that comes across the border. That's a fact.
How does that work, Kim? You mean they get paid, so they get a cut of something?
Sure.
Okay.
Even our former Vice President Mike Pence got paid on human trafficking across the Mexican border in a deal with the Mexican president. Absolutely. And if you don't believe me, the accounts were sitting at Santander Bank, and I found them. So there's no everybody. This is all just a deep state act. It's the same people that sit down at the dinner table at the end of the day in the movie that play the good cops and then the bad guys, they all hang out.
I know.
Like they're friends. They just do their part, make the movie, and then that's it.
Yeah.
But I don't understand. So this is another case of, okay, what is the purpose and how much money could they possibly get from these people in short order? And then if so, why is it public and in the news?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, could they seize their bank accounts? I mean, this is where the faulty, in the past, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but in the past, and most specifically in 2013. In 2013, there was a law passed here in the United States, because this is where it's kind of starting, and it's starting to trickle into other places in the world. In 2013, they passed a law that a bank can shut down your bank account for any reason if they consider you a risk, and they don't even have to tell you what that risk is. Now, during that time frame, they have up to 10 days to make sure that any amount of money you had on deposit is returned to you. So they can mail you a check, essentially, within 10 business days on the slow train, if they wanted to. Now, that being said, usually, from what I've seen in the past, from the way that economic assassinations and these types of things really work, is usually some guy comes knocking on your door, tells you that, you've been sleeping with so-and-so's wife, or so-and-so's, you're a female and you're sleeping with so-and-so's husband, or, you've been caught doing this red-handed. And nowadays you've got computer-generated images and all kinds of stuff they can throw you into. You don't know what you see on the internet is real or not real. Now, blackmail takes place in the darkness. It's not something that atypically hits the news at all in any way. So it's usually all that stuff to get quick money, which is what they're looking for. All that stuff would be done behind the scenes. This is unusual, unless they're trying to claim that they're all of a sudden the white hats, but we all know that they are acting as the IRS on steroids right now, meaning they are the collectors of money. They make the mafia look cheap. I mean, 10% or whatever they charge in the specific areas, they're going for the gusto, and they're just taking all of their own people's, for lack of a better term, money. It's kind of funny.
Do you think they're trying to send a message? I mean, why put it in the media unless you were trying to warn people or say you're next or threaten them? in some way.
Well, yeah, you can throw your token cannon fodder out there in the media. That you could do, which could then say, well, look, if you don't want, us to expose the fact that you're a pedophile or this or that, then yeah, maybe that's what they're doing, so that they could get more bang for their buck. Yeah. Really not sure at this point, because not a whole lot they do make sense. I just know that they need money. They're issuing thousands of arrest warrants for business owners and people. And, most of us don't have to worry. We're not worth more than $100 million, so nobody cares. They have come here, as I said, recently, as allegedly authorized by the U.S. Marshal Service. But, nobody knows me. Nobody's, I mean, I don't have that kind of money at this moment in time. If I could transfer it, I'm sure they'd probably be back, when I can. So I'm sure they'd want theirs too. But as far as the deep state is concerned, yeah, they're scraping, and it's not even going to scratch the surface of the trillions of dollars in an operation that is required to continue or to, how do I say this, escalate an opportunity to have World War III. I mean, you're talking hundreds of billions of dollars a day, and they don't have it. And there's no way stealing money from a bunch of rappers is going to get you there. It's just not, or football players or whoever you think you're going to steal from.
You think they're trying to do it for more personal reasons? Like if you knew the ship was going down and you were just trying to take care of yourself?
You mean so that they could get personal money?
Yeah, well, yeah. Like if you knew that there was no way you were going to start World War III, you don't have that kind of money. I mean, I don't know. I'm just, because it doesn't really make sense, right? I'm just trying to think, well, could they personally benefit from this in some way?
Oh, I'm sure they're all taking a portion of it.
Okay.
I'm sure they've been promised a portion of everything that they can steal.
Yeah.
But they do make, and it's funny how some people actually fall for it because, as an example, a group of people, I think it was at the time, most recently it was the Black Nobility, Silent Circle. They made a phone call to some people locally, and they asked them to get me to turn over the Alpha system to them. And this was like a week or so ago.
Right.
It wasn't that long ago. And get them a master key to the Alpha system. I think it was also the global headquarters that asked for something similar within a 24-hour period. And so the local people said, well, let's just say I could get her to turn over a master key. Why would I want to give it to you? I mean, like I said, these people around here are not the same as your average everyday operative. Like they are the elite of operatives, most of these guys. And in good ways and in bad ways, not saying everybody's, nobody's walking on water and, nobody's named Mother Teresa as far as I know, down the street. But I would say that, that makes sense to me. There's a whole lot of common sense going on around here and not a lot from the other side. Now, as far as U.S. Marshals are concerned, yes, the agency is not getting any funding. They are not making their typical percentages that they get from a lot of stuff. There's stuff that goes on across the border. Even black market drugs, probably are on the downslide because you kind of shut everything down, closed everybody's businesses, and those people aren't making enough money to support some serious habits, I guess. I don't know. I've never been in that world, but I'm sure that their income is down. Yeah. I know that the Silent Circle and the Anti-Silent Circle are still not putting out their own personal cash. I also know that the whatever the Order of the Dragon has left, they're not putting out their personal cash. I know that a lot of the generals that had made significant amounts of money in the past are not putting out their personal cash. Nobody wants to do that. They're not going to put their own personal lives at risk. And by personal cash, some of these people have a decent amount of money. I mean, even if you look into the Tata brothers, for example, out of India, they took over Jaguar and a bunch of other, they own or owned, I should say, some odd 80% of the dark fiber. So the fiber optic cables that everything runs on in the world that is not being used. That's why it's called dark. Doesn't have necessarily dark energy running through it. Okay. So I'm seeing, are they next? Are they going to hit up, the Guptas? Are they going to start hitting up some of they're kind of technically, I guess you would say, if the families I'm talking about are the families that are telling the other people to go steal from the other people. So does this fall in line of the not putting out their own personal money? Possibly. But it's getting, I think they're just trying to collect enough money to hold them off until the 8th of April. Possibly. But you're not going to fund a government with that. I mean, there's not enough money they could take out in short order from every star in Hollywood. Remember, most of these people get paid by contract, and then the amounts are supposed to be paid out over time. So they take those contracts typically to, for example, hedge funds and banks, and then they get a leverage against those contracts so they can get cash out immediately, at a haircut or a discounted rate. So that's how sports stars do it. That's how a lot of people do it, in those industries. So I don't know where they're going with this, but I wish them all the best of luck in the world. That's how they get their mortgages on those houses, those big $20 million homes. It's all done the same way, based on income and future income. So, agencies, maybe Sony or some of those, Universal Pictures, maybe. I don't know how much money those people have. Everybody's pretty much streaming everything online nowadays. The movie industry has become very similar to the Spotify situation of a decade ago, to where, if you're not on Netflix, if you're not on, one of these channels, then, Hulu or whatever it is, and nobody's going to, watch your movie. I mean, I haven't been to a movie probably in 3 years or something, but even the last time I went, it's usually pretty empty.
Yeah. Big theaters, small group of people.
Yeah. Well, and, it's mainly, our generation, Sonny, and on up, that would still go to a movie because it's a night out. It's something, you don't want to go by the time you get to this age. Do most of your friends go out on date night to go see movies, or?
What's that?
I know.
A date night, a friend night out. I don't know what that is. No.
Yeah.
But I do see more things that were just streamed online, them trying to bring things into the theaters, right?
Yeah.
So big concert kind of things. I think Taylor Swift had something like that going on. So I do see that more.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot more of a movement away from for those types of things. So, we'll see what happens, but I definitely know about the arrest warrants. I definitely know the list of people they're going after. I definitely know they're going to be disappointed when they see their bank accounts. But, define disappointment. I made $100,000 for threatening somebody. Is that good? Is that bad? We'll see what happens there. But yeah, the cosmetic people, large ones, L'Oreal, those types of people, those are people are on the list. So there are some pharmaceutical company people on the list. So we'll see. We'll see how well they do. Eating their own. I mean, these are people we probably won't miss much anyway. That's fine.
No, it kind of makes it easier for us in restoration if they all take each other out.
Well, it's not going to save them anyway. I mean, if they were trying to push it forward to a day where they thought they were going to get money. I mean, yesterday was another one of those days. Now it'll be another day. And you're going to run out of people to steal from before you hit a day that you'll actually get paid. Like,
yeah.
But hey, can't stop them from doing crazy. I wonder how much an insurance claim on a bridge like that is going to be.
Pretty
The
penny.
insurance companies are wobbly at best. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I was just going to say that too. It's not like they're made of money. Like they could go under too with something like this.
Yep. Well, we're the only ones supporting them.
Yeah.
You must have car insurance to drive your car. Even if you don't have a loan on it, you must have insurance. Yep. Pretty much that's standard worldwide. The only caveat being if you can prove to the Department of Motor Vehicles that you have more than, I think it's $50,000, might be higher now because the inflation and of course COVID raised the price of everything somehow, some way. So even my car insurance went up for no reason whatsoever. I don't know if yours did, Sunny, but it did. So the price of if you can prove that you have X amount in the bank on deposit, in, for example, a savings account or something like that, then they will let you go without insurance because you have the ability and the financial capacity to pay for an accident, involving another person with personal injury and that type of thing. So whatever the minimum state requirement is in your state, at least here in the U.S., if you have that amount on deposit, you don't need car insurance. So,
which none
not
of
like
us
we
have.
all have that. If you do.
Yeah, very few of us
if you
have.
do.
I'm sure the deep state's fine, or at least they were until they quit getting paid for all their nefarious stuff. But
well, yeah, exactly. I'm sure they don't have car insurance, right?
Yeah, no, I doubt it. No, they'll just do the commercials to tell you to get car insurance.
Well, but because it's a requirement, we're all paying in some way, shape, or form, probably some kind of health insurance premium, whether it's Medicare supplemented health care or, state health care. They have national health care services for some of you that are watching in different countries other than this one that I'm sitting in right now. So but you're still paying. You pay for prescriptions. You pay for a few things here and there. And then, you're still paying for your car insurance and house insurance and homeowners insurance and insurance for this, insurance for that. So, they even have pet insurance. So, if they get any money from the insurance companies, it's going to because we're paying them. That's pretty much it. So these are things to think about as we go forward in restoration. What is insurance? Do we need insurance? I think we should have some kind of something, maybe a fund or something of some sort. But we'll see how that works. Okay, so pretty much in the world, as far as financial concerns, government concerns, this is what they're using the governments for now. I don't see much movement in the way of war. I have heard about a meeting that took place yesterday not in the Pentagon, but with the Pentagon at a different base that was supposed to be quiet. They have agreed that at this moment in time, they cannot afford to engage in a war with China. Quite frankly, U.S. military people, China can't afford to get involved in a war with you either, unless somebody pays out trillions of dollars, which isn't going to happen. And they have decided to back away as much as possible from what they believe is their NATO agreement. So pulling back from Ukraine, pulling back from all Israel, pulling back from support, pulling back from foreign aid if any money actually went anywhere in the first place. This is what they've decided to do based on the fact that they can't afford it.
Yeah.
So even when the deep state calls them and tells them they need to move troops, they need to move these people, the answer is probably going to be, as soon as you pay us to do it, we'll go. Even from the bad guys there. Yeah. Are they going to adhere to that? I don't know, number one. Number two, people with the Pentagon, if you happen to be watching this right now, your NATO agreement expired a long time ago. And maybe you should give the archivist a call and ask them to provide you with a copy of your canceled agreement. The NATO organization technically is defunct. It does not exist. Just the fact that you're still talking to these people kind of tells me that you have no idea what's really going on. And nobody's telling you either. So maybe you should call your Langley 5 superiors and ask them what's really happening. Did it expire? Absolutely. Is anybody, any of the allied nations, so to speak, obligated to listen to a word that those people have to say out of Belgium? No, you're not. So do with that what you will. You want to continue to pay those people? Go right ahead. You're just continuing to pay your deep state partners for doing absolutely nothing for you or your country. So there's that. Okay. So in the world of progress now, we want to talk about...
It's like we took off one hat and we just put on another hat.
Yeah, we did. Well, we're going to, because, number one, I mean, I could go on all day about crazy little operations that they're running everywhere, but it just goes to show you that we absolutely are 100% pretty much on most of everything. Did I pay attention to back chatter at 2 o'clock in the morning about a ship crashing? I didn't actually get an alert for that. I did get an alert, though, for the fiasco that they were planning from underneath the... Well, it's a very large facility. It goes all the way around, much past the center of Denver, Colorado. So I did, now that must have been something fairly significant, because all my alarm bells rang at about 1:30, 1:45 this morning. So let's just say a bunch of deep state people in cooperation with the Mormons had a plan. It failed fairly quickly. A lot of people left the planet due to it, and that's the end of that.
Okay.
So, and Mormons are, I'm not blaming all Mormons. So if you're watching this and you're Mormon, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about, just like people talk about the Pope and the Vatican, I'm talking about your elder council. They are two peas in a pod. They should just marry right into one church at the top level, because it's the same people. It is the same people.
Yeah.
And,
well, I mean, they kind of did. It's Satanism.
Yeah.
So they did. You just don't know.
That Holy of Holies room that you're not allowed to go in, guys? Yeah. You wouldn't want to go in there anyway. So trust me on that one. You don't know what goes on in there. But I've seen them coming up a lot, more than I have in the past, in an operational way, like spraying chemtrails using their own private planes. That's weird, and a few other things that I've seen going on. So, they've become active lately, probably because they A, have money, and B, are willing to spend it.
Yeah.
Nobody else will spend their personal money. Maybe they just feel like they're how do I say this? The people that attend the temple will continue to tithe, so therefore they don't have to worry about a loss of income, because as long as they're standing, they will continue to tithe because they believe in them so much. And maybe that's it. I know that they have heavily invested in a lot of mining activities throughout Utah and Colorado. Their business practices in some cases on that level of things is pretty shady. I've seen them steal technologies from people. I know they're doing it right now with some energy devices and some other things. I've seen them do that. Yeah, they're pretty shady. They actually, killed one of their own. in this particular story, they murdered one of their own in order to get to the technology, because he told them that he had already acquired the technology on behalf of the church. And that actually wasn't the case. So
I feel like these groups need to read their own religious texts and learn how to live life, because everything they preach is right out the window at the top.
Well, it's not for them. It's for you. Sure. It's the same thing with government people. It's not for them. Those rules don't apply, the ones they enforce on us.
Mm-hmm.
Remember all those people flying around in planes with no masks on? You remember all that?
Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, the rules are for them, and then there's rules for us. Yeah. And they're not the same by any means. So, okay. Can we move on now, Miss?
Yes, we can. Let's move on.
Okay, so we've been talking about the fact that we're going through this membrane right now.
Yeah.
And the fact that everything is kind of filling in. Well, as a part of this process, there are some old programs that are continuing to fall away. And the programs are not human programs. I'm not talking about deep state systems. I'm talking about stuff that was here for control of the masses, including them. Now, a lot of these things, and we talked about a little bit before, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about it now, on the ways that they controlled human behavior in order for our systems that we live in to work in their favor. We talked about how they amplified the sins into all of these crazy little nitpicky things, but there are other ways that they have controlled us mentally and have reinforced a small amount of feelings you might be having about situations that happen in a lot of people's lives. Not all, but for example, one of these programs was hate and anger. If you don't like a particular person or a particular thing that's going on, they could see the seed of anger, within you, and then they could amplify it so it becomes your whole life, and then it starts dictating your behaviors. Mm-hmm. You've seen these things happen before. That's that pent up, built up anger. And then anger, of course, creates things like cancer. It's repressed anger or hatred in some cases. Now, the opposite of that hate and anger program is called grace, gratitude, and compassion. So imagine a world where, because for a while here we are going to, we're like homegrown PTSD'd, society. I mean, for the most part, we've all been beaten, bruised and bumped. And what I mean by that is diseases and things like that don't naturally occur. So there might be some other things going on that when anger starts to arise, it will actually attract grace, gratitude, and compassion type energy.
Wow.
So the same thing goes with, I will say the death program. So we had an incarnation program and a lot of things as it relates to death. But the other thing that we see a lot is a fear. So you're watching TV on a, Monday night or whatever it is, you can't help but not see commercials about, if you have psoriasis, take this anti-psoriasis medication. It's the most wonderful thing in the world. May cause sudden death, may cause a heart attack, all of these types of things. Yeah. But that too is a program that amplifies. Same thing they do with movies. They'll put out a movie about cancer, or if you look at TikTok, you'll see 9,000 people dying of cancer or dying of this or dying of that. Death in some cases is a program. And remember, you're a manifester.
Yeah.
So what you're focusing your energy on and your time on, because then you start to think, oh, Mary started with a simple, rash on her pinky finger, and now, who knew that was second stage, whatever cancer, and then you start to think, well, I have a rash on my pinky finger. Does that mean I'm going to die too? Well, you start programming, you're almost manifesting this stuff within yourself. Yeah. So it's kind of a program. Mm-hmm. Obviously the opposite of that program would be living or life. Those thought processes are part of an age-old system, and all the deep state was meant to do was to dish it. Mm-hmm. They were the waiter for the people that really controlled this planet. They just were there to serve you. Not serve you literally, but serve it up to you, I should say. Okay, other programs that we have out there. Envy and greed. Now, these have been going on for a long, long time, but moreover so since the mid-70s. We've got it in television programming. We have it in any kind of news. We have it all over the internet. We have it everywhere. Envy and greed. I wish I lived in that house. I drove that car. I have the 2 versions ago iPhone. Oh my gosh, I'm not a person anymore. Whatever it is. And then you envy the people that do. You envy the people that, they do all these videos and everything for example, like Coachella and some of the big concerts. You watch all that stuff and you think, well, I wish I had that body. I wish I had this. I wish I had that, Mm-hmm. And a lot of that stuff's all staged and not real anyway. But the opposite of that is actually serenity and inner peace. You can be at peace with yourself with the way things are. And I'm not to say you don't strive for more always, but you be at peace with where you're at. You don't need to envy somebody. There's a difference between admiring a neighbor's new car or work ethic or admiring someone else's beauty or being handsome or whatever that is. You can admire somebody's youth over, you're getting older or something like that. You can admire an older person's wisdom too, but that inner peace and serenity is what prevents you from having a jealous, envious feeling towards that other person or the thing, that you want. You're okay with the car that you drive. You're okay. You don't need to prove anything to anybody, and this is who you are when you have serenity and inner peace. Okay, next programs that have been reversed out and switched out is sadness, depression, and knowledge.
Okay.
You hear somebody that might have the blues, funny that coordinates with the same color plane of existence that existed in between on the mental plane, in between the emotional and mental plane. No surprise there. But depression, we all have sad thoughts sometimes, about, the possibility of, could be anything, could be a ending relationship or losing a family member, those types of things. So it's not to say that, it's not natural and normal to feel sadness sometimes, but for it to roll into an entire process or have a chemical reaction in the brain that causes undue depression due to a hormone imbalance of oxytocin, serotonin, all these types of things is not natural. But the programs were designed to take a hold of that one incident or that one seed and then expand it into a physical disorder, because that is a real thing, and expand it into a full-on mental disorder, which would then eventually lead to one of the deadly sins or suicide sometimes, and other types of things, and other physical symptoms that are limiting your body. So that's a very real program that happened. But what happens when you replace these things? So when you start to have those thoughts, you've got that friend sometimes, you start to have a sad thought about something, and he or she is the one that always is like, this too shall pass. You're going to make it sunny. Don't worry about it. Everything is going to be fine. Look what we can do to solve this problem, and we can do that today. There's always that person out there, hopefully, for each one of us. And maybe that's your spouse. Maybe it's a good friend that's close to you. But that's the person that walks in and says, here is the clarity of the situation. This is the reality of the situation. Here it is, bright and clear and shiny for you. Now, they're going to be honest, truthful, transparent, and they're going to provide you with the wisdom to solve the problem. Now, you may not always like how you have to solve the problem, but if you listen to the wisdom, everything will work out. It may be uncomfortable for a while, but it will work out. So in times of sadness and depression, when people are so focused on knowledge, you only need to seek, because it will start pushing that other program against your old thought processes, because these are programmed things into society. Have a question?
Yeah. So are you saying that innately that should be happening internally within us? Because you mentioned you may have a friend. So the way we were created, the way Source originally wanted this to be, is that we could, even if we have those feelings initially, we internally could see the other side of it. We still go through our emotions and stuff, but it's not so gloom and doom. We don't necessarily need a friend to do it, because that should be happening naturally within us.
Sure. Exactly. And it's okay. Like, they say hindsight is 20/20 as an example. So you number one should be your own friend.
Yeah.
Not to say it's not great to have wonderful friends and family and spouses and kids and all these types of things. But first and foremost, you have to be your own friend. Mm-hmm. You have to be that friend to yourself. Mm-hmm. Now, we all have periods of time where we're really angry about something, or, and then we kind of, as we get older, I would say, we take a step back and we say, okay, I'm not going to open my mouth right now because bad things are going to come out of it, but I'm going to go gain some clarity, wisdom in the situation, and I'll figure out a way to solve this problem. But, you have your few minutes of just letting it all out, right? Yeah. Whether that's a good cry or just anger, and you go to the gym and start punching the punching bag, or whatever it is for you, you let it out. But that process sometimes takes a hold of people's lives, and it is a program, whether it's a physical chemical imbalance that happens in the brain, or it is something that people just can't let go of. Maybe they fought in a war, maybe they saw some terrible things, maybe they lost a loved one or a spouse, or and they just never get past it. It takes a hold of them. It takes a grip. They don't get out of bed, for weeks or months or whatever it is. That's not a natural, normal process, because you love yourself as much as you love that other person or the thing you lost. Mm-hmm. So as your own friend, makes like I'm sounding like everybody's schizophrenic, and you're not. As your own friend, because Source is your friend, right? As your own friend, the clarity, the transparency, the hope, and the wisdom will come through. Mm-hmm. So every time there's a sense of depression, these things are going to be thrown at you left and right. And it might take a day or two, depending on where you're at in your relationship with Source. But think about the clarity of the situation. I can tell you, I don't know how many times I have had, throughout my life, relationships say boyfriends and I so didn't want the relationship to end, and I thought, what did I do? Why did it end? And then a year or two goes by and you get some clarity. You're like, oh my, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
And then there's hope for the future, because now you're discovering things that you really want in a partner, a lifelong partner. And then there's the wisdom that's involved too, with how to, where to find those people. You're not going to find them in the same place you found the last person, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of that will be taking place that will actually help you learn, grow, and overcome our PTSD, for lack of a better term, as a society as a whole. And this will actually help us help all the others not so much wake up to what's going on, but it's going to help them help themselves.
Yeah.
To gain a better understanding that you don't need a pill, you need this. Mm-hmm. Okay, other programs out there are guilt, grief, and shame. Guilt, grief, and shame. A lot of this has to do with us not being our own friend too. We're really not very good friends to ourselves in a lot of ways, because you'll feel so guilty for not making it to pick up your kids on time. Maybe you were 10 minutes late and it was raining. You will put the guilt and the shame on yourself before anybody else does, and probably better than anyone else could.
Mm-hmm. There's a term for that. We say we're our own worst critic.
We are.
Yeah.
And we are.
Yeah.
We are. Like I said, we're very bad friends to ourselves. And it's actually in part us and in part programs. Mm-hmm. So we're intended to hate ourselves and to put ourselves through all of this stuff. And I'm not saying it's not okay to feel sadness for the loss of someone or something like that, but you put yourself through so much grief.
Yeah.
You have, and you just can't get past the shame of something you might have done or didn't do. And it could be something small, like, well, gee, I wish I could have given my kid more things for Christmas, or, a holiday or something like that. We tend to do this to ourselves. Mm-hmm. But if every single time you're having thoughts and feelings of guilt and shame, what if hope and creativity came into play?
Wow.
So creativity is where you're manifesting, where you're able to bring these things into your life. Your creativity is when you're playing music, if that's your thing, or designing something, if that's your thing. Whatever it is that makes you feel the most creative. Cooking sometimes for people. If every time you had a thought of guilt or shame, hope and creativity came into play and started nudging you in the other direction, because if you were your good friend, that's what you would do. You would pull yourself out of those thoughts. You'd forgive yourself if it was your friend on the other side. Don't worry, you were late, Mom, that kind of thing, depending if they're teenagers or not. Now that's a whole nother story. No, I'm just kidding.
It truly is.
Yeah, it really does.
They need more of the good stuff. More. Yeah, they need more of that.
Right. Now, other things that happen too, and this has been happening a lot since we were in the boiling pot, chaos and confusion. Mm-hmm. They always say out of chaos comes order. That means everybody falls in line. In times of chaos in people's lives, they tend to look for a savior.
Yeah.
When everything is out of control, the one person that walks into your life and makes it all okay, be that the government, the deep state, the New World Order government, whatever they wanted to do, that is where they come from, because they always create the problem. They'll create the chaos, create the confusion, and then they come in and solve all your problems for you. But if you were your own best friend, you would come in with a balanced and centered, logical plan. You would say, okay, the alarms going off, this is happening, that's happening, there's a fire in the backyard, whatever it is, everything that's going in your life, even if you're just watching it happen within governments, or, seeing banks go down, or, all the confusion, bridges fall, and all kinds of things that's going on around you, you would take a step back, balance yourself out. This is what your friend would tell you. Breathe, take 10 deep breaths, balance yourself out, take a logical approach to what you're seeing that is contributing to the chaos in your life. Watching 9,000 Telegram messages from people that are just talking nonsense sometimes, that you got to just walk away. Mm-hmm. Your friend tells you to walk away. My friends tell me to walk away, And I'm not even talking about my internal friend and myself. I'm talking about my friend told me to just walk away, let it go, and they're right. So every time chaos and confusion starts to come into play, a counterbalancing frequency, energy will start pushing in the other direction for a more balanced and centered and logical mental state. See how this kind of part of the restoration here? Sure. Yeah. Source always has everything in perfect timing. Okay, we have lack and despair. You know how many times I've seen people say, but there's children starving. You remember this when you were a kid? Did you get this one? Oh, yeah. There's children starving in Africa or wherever, You need to finish that dinner. But no, this takes it to a whole new level now that we have internet and a lot of other things. You watch one video on something that's happening in the world where people are living in lack, as an example. And it's probably an amplified video in some cases too. And I bet you those people probably 50% of the time, I'm not going to say all the time, are not actually lacking anything. They're happy. And maybe they're eating this food and you don't like that food, or you consider it inhumane to eat this food. And I'm not talking about bugs and crickets and those things. I'm talking about maize and other things. Mm-hmm. And you may see them as, oh my gosh, they're living in lack and in despair. But all honesty, they've been living that way for thousands of years, and they're still alive, and they're fine, and they're not eating, want chips, like, whatever the heck is in there, all these things you can't pronounce.
Yeah. So true.
So who's to say they're not the healthier ones?
Yeah.
You really don't know. I mean, unless you take into consideration the World Health Organization wants to jab the crap out of everybody in those locations, but predominantly they could have a happier existence than you. You just only have to find in your little own box what unhappiness is. But regardless of that, you see the lack and despair in everything, and more lack and despair will bring you more lack and despair, whether it's from a social media algorithm or because you have that feeling about yourself. How am I going to pay these bills? Oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to make it this month. You live in that place. I'm going to lose my job. Those people? Oh my gosh, I've had those friends. I'm going to lose my job. 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 If I'm 5 minutes late today, I know they're going to fire me. Are they going to fire me? Should I should we check in with the psychic network? Can you check in on that for me? Are they going to fire me? I'm like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
But that is a program too. So your good friend is going to tell you from here on out that you are living in abundance and you are grateful. I mean, I've been in some pretty untenuous situations, and I am eternally grateful for some of the things that I've been granted in those situations. And most people would have looked at me and said, well, you're okay, you don't have this, you don't have that. And I said, oh no, I'm perfectly fine and I'm grateful, and my daughter's healthy, my family's okay, and I've had to move into this place or move out of that place or whatever, but no, everything is great, Mm-hmm. And if you have that abundance attitude, you might not attract the things that you think you need $1,000 for food, for example. And if you live in the U.S. right now after COVID, you're probably right. No, just kidding.
Depending on how big your family is.
Depending on how big your family is, you might be right. But if you're just looking for the food, it will show up. You'll find a way to get it. A thought will come in. Call this party, call this person, and you'll have it. You'll have what you need. But your good friend is going to tell you that if you're just grateful to Source for all the gifts that you're given, it'll come. Mm-hmm. And the more abundant you feel, the more you attract that abundance. Yep. So next, the disconnection from Source. The disconnection from Source is a very real situation. They have done everything they can. The more you try to reach out, the more the disconnect happens and the more mud they will throw in the way. I call it energetic or etherical mud to really block that connection. So an easier, an easier connection with the divine is an important part of making all of these other things work. Disconnection from Source could also be you have to go into a building every Sunday or Saturday or whenever you go, and you have to go through that person that's standing up in front of you talking to reach out to Source. There's another method of disconnection. You need to go and you need to talk to this guy in a box with a curtain between the two of you and tell him about all the things you did this week that you didn't feel were right. And then he's going to give you a prescription for upteen Hail Marys so you can walk out the door and feel okay with yourself. Well, your good friend would say you should be okay with yourself. Make it right. If there is a lesson or something that's happened and you need to make that right, I say a mistake is a lesson. So, we all make lessons for ourselves sometimes. And, you got to get up and say, what can I do to fix this? If I've wronged somebody or I missed an appointment or I did whatever it was I did that I felt, your good friend would tell you that it's going to be okay. Maybe that wasn't the right doctor for you to go to. Maybe this wasn't the right, time. Maybe this was not the right time to have a relationship with this person or a friendship. Maybe you need to explore other friendships or whatever it is. But your connection with the divine is key to not getting so caught up sometimes in the judgment that some of those institutions make on you as well. You have, as you kind of wake up, and a lot of you probably know this, you sought Source in one way and maybe you're seeking Source in another way now. And that's okay. Maybe you still take your family to those places because, your spouse or your mom or your dad or your grandparents think that that's what you need to do to be okay. And that's okay. But to feel the judgment from those people, I don't know if you've ever felt that, Sunny, because I can certainly tell you that I have, in my long ago or decades ago when I would go to those places. The amount of judgment going on in there, it's like, wait a minute, who appointed you? Yeah. I haven't been here for 3 weeks, or you get that kind of stuff. It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But that's not what Source is all about. So when you're connecting, to the divine, to Source, to the light, to God, however you say that, whatever makes you feel comfortable, it doesn't matter. He doesn't care what you call him at all. He, she, it, whatever you want to say, just do your thing. There's no judgment there. There's no hatred. There's no, you're the wrong color to be at this church. You're the wrong, nationality to be in this place. Whatever it is. You don't speak this language because everybody speaks the same language there. There's another one too. So the reconnection is important. The only other one is war, the warring attitude, the wanting to attack. and not saying that you're not going to have crazy deep state people still trying to do deep state things, until they are no longer and they become not relevant to us. But that warring attitude, the part of you that wants to fight, whether it's, you're getting into a bar fight and all the way up to, maybe you want to yell at this lady at the grocery store or whatever it is. I mean, that's still fighting too. That's still war. It's a fight that comes out in you over some grapes in a store. And then you feel really silly because you took it out on some lady that happened to be trying to pick out some grapes for herself, and she got in your way and you have to go to your, appointment. But in the face of that, you're going to get a heavy dose of peace. Your good friend's going to say, look, they're grapes. Go around and get some oranges. We'll come back in 20 minutes and get the grapes. They're 5 minutes or whatever it is. I don't need to commit road rage and for this person cutting me off because it's not going to uncut you off. You need to realize that. I understand it's very jarring and it's uncomfortable and that kind of thing. But yelling at this person is not going to disrupt their day in any way. It's going to raise your blood pressure. It's going to cause problems for you, and you're not going to get uncut off. So does it really matter?
Yep. And I feel like earlier we ran a field messenger report on some roadways where, a lot of roadways were coming together and they didn't have traffic signs, stop signs, anything like that. It was based on people, paying attention and practicing exactly what you're talking about. Like, when people get road rage, it's because they're being very selfish, right? But if you take a step back and you're like, it's okay, I'm going to get to my destination. Can I let the pedestrian cross? Can I let the train do this? Can I do that? Yeah, it's going to be okay. But I feel like that is putting something in action of exactly what you're talking about right now.
Yeah. And I have driven some serious these people don't truly mean it. Like there's areas I used to live in Arizona, and there are areas of town that are predominantly, should say city, areas of the city that are predominantly retired communities. Retirement, you have to be 50 and over. And these are whole subsectors of the city, like a suburb. And sometimes driving in these places can be very frustrating, as far as road rage is concerned. Yeah. And I used to joke, when you go down there, I'm always prepared that my lane is not my lane. It can become anybody else's lane at any given moment in time.
Yeah.
So I know it sounds crazy. So I used to sing this little song. This lane is your lane. This lane is my lane. From California, So because I didn't, I'm like trying to make a joke out of it because it was pretty scary, especially like earlier in the mornings if you're going out and they're all going out with their, glaucoma glasses on doing the thing. And you're like, you can't see anymore, But, you have compassion for those people and I sing my little song and I'm like, no problem. I'm just going to slow down right now and let you do your thing, But overall, the point is that you need to understand that Source is your best friend. It's always going to be your best friend. Whatever you decide to call it, that is your best friend that you're ever going to have. And he's going to remind you now every time you start going in the wrong direction for yourself because that friend cares about you that much. And in order to help people make it in a new earth, in a new world, all of these things are important. Now, this just started yesterday, so it's not like going to be, boom, overnight, everybody's going to be the happiest person in the world, and there's going to be no need for Prozac anymore or something like that. But give it some time. But when those nudges come, listen and don't hate yourself so much. Don't shame yourself so much. When those nudges come that says, hey, Sonny, you need to walk away right now and you need to go get your nails done. Or whatever it is that makes you happy. You need to go for a walk on the beach. You know what? You deserve it. And, so what? You won't be able to get the extra milkshakes in your for your kids or whatever, but they don't need milkshakes anyway. So they'll live for one whole week without milkshakes so that you can go get your nails done because you deserve it. You were a good mom. You picked them up from soccer practice. You dropped them off. You got them to school on time. You took care of your husband. You made sure dinner was on the table. You did all these things all week. And so what? 5 minutes for yourself? And you know what? Maybe they'll all complain, but they'll need to get over it because you need to be a good friend to yourself too. Mm-hmm. So that is the biggest change that's happened in the last 48 hours as far as the transition into the new earth and how to help humanity move forward. So this all took place pretty much over a good portion of the day yesterday. So I'm grateful for that. Yeah. The more other things go away that the deep state was aware of, the more depressed, chaotic, despair, the need to create war, all comes into play.
Do you think they know that this was happening overnight? Did they give any kind of indication, or is this so above their heads they wouldn't even be able to understand these programs?
Well, I'd say for some of the secret space program people, maybe they might be aware of some of these programs in operation. I know that those are the ones that they try to feed. If you pay attention to all the things they do, that is what they try to feed. I think they've been aware. I shouldn't even say that. I'm trying to interject common sense here. I think that there might be some of them who may be somewhat aware that the desired end result isn't happening the way that it used to. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as for example, operatives selling weapons to make money that cause, for wars and those kind of things, are they aware that this is what happens? Are they aware that people used to get paid $50,000 a kill? For every person that dies in a war or something like that, if you're a general on a certain level? Are they aware? I don't know. Probably not. Mm-hmm. Nope. Probably not. So I'm going to say some of them are aware that the desired end result is not happening. It's the same thing with creating all this buildup of fear and schools shutting down and everything with this eclipse coming up.
Yeah.
Is all this stuff going to happen? Well, it depends if that's what you're feeding. But your good friend will just say, you know what, sit back, relax, connect with the divine, ask source if hey, is this a possibility? Is this going to happen? Mm-hmm. Okay, no, nothing will happen. You say everything is going to be okay. So it doesn't matter what all these people say. You say, okay, well, it's going to be okay, but make sure you don't go to this place on this day. Yeah. This is where everybody's going to go. It might get a little chaotic and a little crazy, so stay away from this area, or, don't drive down that street at this time, or whatever it is. But you'll know because you'll be getting the wisdom. You're going to make logical, clear decisions, balanced and centered decisions, and you will say, okay, well, that makes sense because I've connected with the divine, and then it puts everything else into perspective of what you need to do. And then you have to have faith and trust.
It's so interesting. I was thinking about this yesterday because I was watching a video on YouTube, and the video ended, and a video about the eclipse and what to expect automatically started playing. And I thought, okay, I'll just kind of watch this. I mean, it was from a weather perspective. It was a guy that was going through, okay, and he was talking specifically about the United States. This is where you're going to get, 100% coverage. This is where you're going to get this. So I'm like, oh, it's kind of interesting because I never really paid attention. And I realized, I'm like, throughout my whole life, I have never really understood the fascination with these eclipses. I'm kind of fascinated with humanity's fascination of eclipses, but yeah. It's never been a thing for even now. I'm like, knowing what we know, I'm like, so the moon is going to cover the sun for a little bit.
I know.
I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but I'm just like, I don't want to go out and see it necessarily. I'm not interested. I don't know.
Everybody go out and practice. If it's a sunny day where you are, what I want you to do is I want to take your thumb and you need to put it over the sun and go eclipse, no eclipse, eclipse, no eclipse.
Look, and I didn't even need a cereal box or special glasses. That's what this guy was talking
just
about.
stick your thumb up there and go eclipse, no eclipse.
I don't know. I'm like, am I missing something? Everyone's all excited. I'm like, I could care less, not in a bad way. I mean, it's okay. The planets and the sun, the moon, it's doing something. We're always in flux. We're always moving. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm just like,
I know. well, it's nice to know if it's going to be dark in the middle of the day.
I guess.
It's nice to know what's happening. That's cool. So I get that, I mean, it's not that hard to just let people know a few times, hey, if it's going to be dark in these areas, just be aware, this is what's happening, keep it moving.
Yeah, that's kind of what I feel. I mean, are we expecting on our end good stuff to happen on the eclipse? Is there something I'm missing? Like, is Source doing something? Because we know that they are hoping bad stuff happens, but is good stuff going to happen?
Well, we've had some pretty good stuff happen. I mean, there's a whole mechanism that was behind each side of this. One was uninstalled and another one was installed. So it's, there's a lot of really good stuff that's happened, just like we've had, for example, we had the golden apples of wisdom. We've talked about those. And we've talked about the crystalline flowers of life that are the base root for the essence of everything, that exists. But we also have golden flowers of life, golden energy flowers, golden consciousness flowers, golden essence flowers, golden matter flowers, and then wisdom flowers. And these are like the program behind all of that gets installed. We have frequency flowers and love flowers. And we don't have any more flowers of death, anti-energy, anti-consciousness, anti-essence, anti-matter, or knowledge, I should say, anti-crystalline time, anti-frequency, and no more damned condemnation. So there's a lot of things that take place when I say that there's a mechanism in place for this. There's definitely a lot of, so the timing was right. The movement into the place where we could receive the energy to start these programs up. It's kind of like a starter in your car. If you don't have this spark from your battery, it's not going to turn over, and then it makes everything else work and the alternator keeps it running and all of these types of things in your car. But you need a little bit of juice to kind of get it over the hump. And we're now in an area where we're starting to see that enough juice in all areas. So in all 9 areas that I just mentioned, so that we can start disconnecting some of this stuff because it's not being fed as much anymore. It's not like a hot wire, so to speak. And now we can insert our own stuff. Okay. And it's all part of the transition into the different age. So everything has its time. And so, sometimes we have to wait for an alignment like the one that happened Sunday night to start installing stuff. So what was meant for our harm is used for our good. Or Sunday night, my time, Monday morning, depending on where you are in the world. So, I would say there's a lot of good things that are going to happen between now and the eclipse is what it seems like to me. All different parts, different facets of restoration are probably going to happen. This is what I know so far. So I thought I'd let you know. Yeah. So if you are starting to get these little niggles for you, listen, because that's your best friend talking. You now have your own best friend. So listen. Yeah. I mean, lots of positive things, lots of work happens to make all these things happen. It's a co-creation process, like I said. Yeah. I am looking forward to the day when we're all finished, and I can't imagine it taking longer than, hopefully. You know what? I shouldn't even say anything because I don't know the answer. My friend tells me what he wants me to know when I need to know it, and that's it. Yeah. Here's time to ring your bell. Ring this one. Okay. We've got it.
Yep.
So that's the World Situation Report really for Wednesday.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll have some more good news by Friday. That would be great.
That would be great. Well, we're getting a lot of good news. A lot of bad stuff for the deep state, a lot of good stuff for us. So as long as we stay on that trajectory, speaking of alignment,
that's right.
Let's stay on that path and we'll be good. So
absolutely.
Okay.
Well, have a great Wednesday. We'll see you on Good Friday.
All right. Sounds good. Want to share news from UNN? Help us change the face of social media and use it for good. Connect with us through our online channels. Our social media team creates clips from each newscast you can easily share with the people you care about. That's also where you'll find our UNN meme of the day, a great way to encourage critical thinking. Links to all of our social media sites are available at the bottom of our website at unitednetwork.earth. Let's change the face of news together. That wraps up today's news update. Please share UNN with your friends and family. We need everyone to come together and help restore our planet. When news happens in your area, record it and share it with us so we can share it with the world. Remember, if it's going to be, it's up to me. I'm Sunny Galt. Join us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the real news.